Hello guys, welcome back. I'm Yusuf Shakeel and you're watching ChartJS tutorial series. In my previous video, I showed you how to draw a bar graph. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw line graph using data from MySQL table and PHP on the server side. So let's get started. To draw the line graph, we are going to use data from the followers table. The followers table has got 4 columns: user ID, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. For this example, we have 3 entries in the followers table. For instance, user ID 1 has got 100 followers on Facebook, 200 followers on Twitter, and 80 followers on Google+. We are going to use this data to create the line graph. I'll be using this ChartJS project folder that I created in my previous video on how to draw a bar graph. If you're not seen that video yet, you can click on this annotation shown on your screen to watch that video, or you can click on the link given in the description. So, inside this ChartJS project folder, I created this JS folder which contains all the JavaScript file that was used to create the bar graph. So we have jquery.min.js file, chart.min.js file. We have this app.js file which you can ignore as it was used to create the bar graph. Similarly, this bargraph.html file, data.php file, you can ignore these two files as they were used to create the bar graph in the previous video. Now the first thing we need to do is get data from the followers table. For this, create followers data.php file inside ChartJS project folder. So new file and save it as followers data.php inside ChartJS project folder. And this is the code for followers data.php file. We have set the header to application JSON, that is, we are going to output the data in JSON format. In these lines, we have our database credentials. So username is root, password is root123. We have our database host set to localhost, that is 127.0.0.1. Database name is mydb. Then we get the connection and then we check whether the connection was successful or not. If the connection failed, we output the error message. Then we have the SQL query, select user ID, Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus from followers table. Then we execute the query and we get the data which we are going to save in this data array. Then we free the memory associated with this result, and then we close the connection, and finally we print the data in JSON format. Now if you open this followers data.php file in the browser by going to localhost chartjs followers data.php, we'll get this output, which is an array of object. Let me zoom in. Okay, so we have an array having 3 elements which are objects, and if you remember, our followers table had 3 entries, so we have 3 elements in this array, and each element is an object having a key value pair. So if we consider the first element of the array, we have the key user ID set to 1, then we have the key Facebook set to 100, then we have the key Twitter set to 200, then we have the key Google Plus set to 80. Similarly, we have the second element of the array and the third element of the array. Now we need to create a new file inside ChartJS project folder and name it as linegraph.html. So right click, new file, save it as linegraph.html. And inside this JS folder, create a new file and save it as linegraph.js. This is where we'll write all the JavaScript code to draw the line graph. Now inside the linegraph.html file, let me quickly write the HTML code. Alright, So we have the doc type set to HTML. Then we have the opening and closing HTML tag. Inside the head tag, we have the title set to ChartJS line graph. In the body tag, we have this div having class set to chart container. Then inside this div, we have the canvas element having ID myCanvas. Then we have this chart container style, and we are setting the width to 640 pixels and height to auto. Then in these lines, we are including the JavaScript files. So we are first including this jquery.min.js file. Then we have this chart.min.js file. Then finally, we are including linegraph.js file. All these are inside this JS folder. Now it's time to write some JavaScript. Switch to linegraph.js file and write $document.ready function. Now we'll be making an AJAX call from linegraph.js file to this followers data.php file to get this result. So for this we'll write $.ajax URL. URL will set it to the followers data.php file URL. So http localhost chartjs followers data.php. Type, we'll set this to get. If there is a success, then code inside this function will be executed. If we have an error, then code inside this function will be executed. So we are making an AJAX call to this followers data.php file, and on success, this data will contain this array of object. So if I console log this data, save the file, and if I go to linegraph.html and inside the developer tools, in the console, we can see we have an array having 3 elements. Each element is an object, and if we look at the first element, that is index 0, we can see we have key value pairs: Facebook 100, Google plus 80, Twitter 200, user ID 1. That is, we are reading the first element of this array from this followers data.php file. Now we'll create 4 array variables. So var user ID, var Facebook follower, var Twitter follower, var Google plus follower. Now we'll read this data array and push the values in this 4 array variables. For this we write var I and data, then user ID dot push data I dot user ID, then Facebook follower dot push data I dot Facebook Twitter follower dot push data I dot Twitter Google Plus dot push data I dot Google Plus. Save. Now we create another variable var chart data, which is an object having some key value pairs, and we set the first key labels to user ID. Then we set another key datasets, which is an array of objects. So the first element of this array is this. So we have labels set to Facebook. Fill is false, line tension is 0.1, so it will make a straight line rather than a curved one. Background color, this you can take it from Google. Just type in Facebook color code and you will get these values. And data, we have set it to Facebook followers. Second element of this data sets array is this one. We have set the label to Twitter. Fill is false, tension 0.1. The background color and point over background color, you can search Twitter color code and you will get these values. And then we have this data. Data is set to the Twitter follower, which is this Twitter follower array. Now the last element of this datasets array is this for Google Plus. So for this we create the third object of the dataset array and we set the label to Google Plus. This color value is taken from Google, so you can type in Google Plus color code and you will get this value. And this data is set to the Google Plus follower array, this one. And now we'll get this canvas having ID myCanvas. So for this we write var ctx equal to $hash myCanvas. Now we create a chart object. For this we write var line graph equal to new chart, which take two parameters. So the first one is ctx, that is myCanvas. Second one is an object which takes some key value pairs. We set the type to line and we set the data to chart data. Save. And if we go to linegraph.html file and refresh it, we get the graph and it has the values. And this brings us to the end of another video. I hope you guys find this video interesting. Please share your thoughts by writing some comments and share and like this video if you find it helpful. I'll put all important links in the description and this tutorial will be posted on my website DYclassroom.com. You can check out my other YouTube videos by clicking the annotations on your screen or the links given in the description. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you again in my next video. And like always, stay happy and keep smiling. Bye.